CBS News senior national security analyst Fran Townsend was Homeland Security Advisor for President George W. Bush. Fran, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie.
This is a new policy with respect to Iran?
You know, look, I think that we ought to expect Mike Flynn went out there and said he was putting Iran on notice. And I think what that really means is you ought to expect a tougher line to Iran, whether it's ballistic missiles or the Houthi firing on a Saudi ship. This administration is not going to be passive about what they perceive and what is rightly a very aggressive Iran.
And their Sunni allies in the Arab world will be happy about this?
Absolutely. I think that this is a real comfort to people like the Saudis and the Emiratis who have been fighting side by side in Yemen against Iranian aggression.
And yet, Fran, it seems like the position on Israel and settlements is changing within the Trump administration.
Well, I wouldn't read too much into that. Look, this is not the Obama administration policy about settlements are an impediment to peace. It may not be helpful. I think it's a signal to Prime Minister Netanyahu that from this point forward, he should not be so aggressively pursuing new settlements. But I think this is a much more friendly administration in terms of understanding Netanyahu's position.
Fran, that shift did seem to come, though, after President Trump spoke with Jordan's King Abdullah yesterday. Do you think that influenced this?
I do. I mean, look, the Jordanian king is our strongest ally there, and he's under tremendous pressure, whether it's refugees coming in from Syria, Israel policy, right? And so I think we have to be, and the administration is signaling, they're going to be receptive and listen to the Jordanian king and seek his advice and counsel.
Well, most people think that's a good thing. I mean, clearly you're listening to people who've had long experience in the region.
That's right. No, I agree with you, Charlie. And we have to. We need the Jordanian king. We need there to be stability in Jordan, and we need to fight alongside him.
And what about what Nikki Haley said about the Crimea?
Look, I think we should not assume that Nikki Haley was freelancing here. Clearly, the administration was sending a pretty clear signal. And we ought to understand that Nikki Haley's statement is part of a larger strategic sort of view in terms of Russian policy, right? I mean, Russia cares about many things, whether it's the Assad regime, it's access to their port in Tartus in Syria. There is a larger sort of Russian policy that's being formulated here, and Ukraine and Crimea is one piece of it.
Would you agree that it's a stronger tone towards Russia, though?
Oh, absolutely. This is for sure. I mean, the Russians ought to be sitting up listening and taking notice this morning.
Is the Trump administration pivoting to a posture that's more similar to the Obama administration?
I think that's a generous view. I would not think that anybody's expecting a continuation of the Obama policy.
But it clearly is a more aggressive response in terms of rhetoric and perhaps in terms of action.
Right, but I think we ought to understand that there's some posturing going on here, and we ought to, I think, expect that the Trump administration is going to look for some more grand strategic bargain, of which Crimea, Ukraine, Syria are all pieces in this puzzle.
All right, Fran Townsend, thanks very much.
Sure.